you are setting these constraints. So whenever you are using constraints, the one problem which we have already seen is you are trying to reduce the scheduling flexibility. But another common problem I have seen is they break the critical path. Okay, so I'll just go back to the project plan, what we created. Okay, I'll just show you the scenario now. So I've just defaulted all the activities to as soon as possible. I'll just change the table to the entry table so that we have. I'm just adding a new task in between T2 and T3. Okay. I'll just have it as new task and let me link those activities. Yeah, so I've just linked it, and I will just link the new activity. So I'll just do a small cleanup. Okay, so yeah, so I've just linked these activities. I hope you are able to find that the new task has been added. Let's see it. Okay. So you can find that your critical path is being shifted now. So it is T1, T2, the new task, and T4. So when you try to change the date, for on an activity on a critical path, this is what happens. So I'm just going to change the new task date to a 2 days late. It's the 10th of May. So it will give you an alert that what you want me to do. I'll just say move this activity but retain the link. But now what you find is, since this activity is having a start no earlier than constraint, which means the early start of this activity has changed to the selected date. Or in other words, when you look at your schedule, okay, you can find the critical activity is having an early start as 10th of May, okay. Late start is 10th of May, so slack is 0. But if you look at T2, the early start and the late start will be quite different because there is always some amount of time left for that activity. So whenever you are changing or setting constraints for your critical activity, please do it with caution because there is always a chance your critical path might break. Okay. The next one which I would like to talk about is there are sometimes when your critical path, when your constraints might create a negative slack. I'll just show you when it happens. So I'm just changing the third one to as soon as possible. Okay. Yeah. So I'm just going to take the new task, what we have added, row number 3. Okay. For this activity, I'm going to say it cannot start later than a particular date. Okay. So I'll just say start later than. I'll just go for that date. Okay. I'll just change it here. Yeah. So you can find I've set a start no later than constraint for it. Okay. So what I do is I go to T1 or a T2. Okay. I'm just going to shift that particular activity to a later date, which means the duration of T1 or T2, I'm going to increase it. So let me increase it from 5 days to 7 days. So what you find now is, though your T2's finish date is getting moved, your new task start date and finish date is not getting moved because you have set this activity cannot start later than a particular date. So you can find there is a negative slack being created. What do you mean by a negative slack? Which means this activities or the activities that have a negative slack should start 2 days earlier. Okay, which means before the project start date, we should have started 2 days earlier. There is an option. The good news is there is an option in MS Project where I can say if there is a negative slack, please relax it. Just avoid that particular constraint. So you can go to the file, options, on the schedule tab, file, options, schedule tab. You can see there's a checkbox available which says task will honor their constraint dates, which means constraints are more respected than the dependencies. I'll just clear that option. Yeah. So I'm just going to say, okay now, just now observe what the total slack is. So you can find that this activity will be scheduled as per the dates what we have provided. So the point which I'm trying to emphasize here is make sure that you are trying to avoid constraints as much as possible. Okay. Now let's get back to the slides. So how do we ignore it? I've already talked about this. You might want to clear this checkbox saying